This is Season 3, Episode 31 of In Touch with Terri, a podcast for aesthetics professionals. Today's episode is titled Industry Insights into SEO.
SEO, search engine optimization. It's basically how well you can get ranked on the top of Google. So why do you want to get on the top of Google? 92% of all traffic goes just to the first page. And 75% of all traffic is only on the top 3 results. So SEO is how many links, backlinks, and other sites are pointing to your website on the web. And then it gets into how much authority those websites have. So if those are trusted sites, then your site actually looks more trusted. Google basically just wants to know who's a trustworthy source of information on the web. And to do that, they use other sites pointing to your site to verify you. So what we do is we try to get high quality sites to point to your website, and that increases your SEO.
Hello, and welcome to In Touch with Terri, our power-packed podcast for the medical aesthetic industry that brings you expertise, authenticity, more importantly, solutions that have proven to increase profitability, attract, convert, and retain more patients, and features some of the top industry experts as guests. Hi, I'm Terri Ross, former Fortune 500 executive, international speaker, and founder and CEO of Apex by Terri Ross and Terri Ross Consulting. Today's podcast is a topic that I think deserves some hype. It gets a lot of hype in the industry. I think it's also a very confusing topic. And I have somebody that is not only a friend, but an authority in the industry. And that topic is SEO. What is that? I love it when people are like SEO, PPC, CAC. I mean, hell, these terms are crazy. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And we're really going to dig deep into what that means, how it can benefit you. In addition, we're going to be talking about site speed and why that's so important. So again, every practice needs it, but what the hell is it? And my guest today is Jake Melman. He is the founder of Web Upgrade. Web Upgrade is a team of marketing engineers. Okay, not just another website company, not just another marketing company. They are marketing engineers. And what does that mean? That they actually use a data-driven approach to building websites and SEO. In addition, they've built customary, that is proprietary software that only they have to be able to test site speed. Because one of the things I've asked Jake, and we've kicked it right over drinks, what makes you the authority? Like, what is the proprietary software that you have? So Jake, welcome. Super excited to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Terri. Thank you for that intro.
You are so welcome. So, another thing that is really near and dear to my heart is that for those of you that have seen all my recent marketing efforts, for those of you that are a part of our new Apex by Terri Ross platform, Jake and his team are really the gurus behind the back end of what Apex is about, all of the additional features in the back end. So thank you, Jake, so much. I am again, so grateful to have you and your team working with me and my team to make this something that is just, again, astounding and solution driven for the industry.
Absolutely. The Apex project has been really awesome for us to do. We very much believe in the product, and so it's been a pleasure to work on.
Thank you so much. So a little bit about Jake, and then I'll let him talk about himself. But Jake Melman is the founder and entrepreneur at heart. He studied at USC, business and econ. And Jake really learned, what it takes to be a business entrepreneur. Post grad, he traveled the world and really found a passion for his entrepreneurship. Jake has went on to start several technology and marketing companies, generating millions in revenue. So again, Jake, welcome. I think that my tribe, my community is really going to be fascinated about this topic. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about you so the audience can kind of get to know you?
So that was a pretty good intro. I studied at USC. I went on to work in finance. I decided that life wasn't for me. And so I actually left the country and I traveled for 6 months and I found my passion. I came back. Even before I got back, I had reached out to a fellow USC graduate who was working. He was a lead engineer at GoPro. So him and I decided to start a company in the marketing space, in the automated marketing space for Instagram. While we were building that, we learned a ton of great lessons. We learned all about what it takes to grow Instagram accounts, which actually translated really well into how to grow SEO. So we used a lot of those lessons that we learned. We found that websites were actually a better long-term option. So we moved into the website space, and then we decided to move into the medical space after we actually did an audit of several 100,000 websites on the web to kind of determine which websites needed our services the most. And we found that medical had 95% were considered slow by Google standards, which means they're losing tons and tons of leads. So we were like, we have to get into this so we can actually help people. We can actually help grow their practices.
And what does that mean, slow? Like, for the audience that we don't come from this world, what does Google consider slow? How would anybody know? How would a practice know?
We have a speed checker on our site. So you can actually go and at webupgrade.com, you can actually check to make sure your website is fast. And I'll explain what fast means. Google actually did a study. They took millions and millions of websites, which they obviously have access to, and they tested all the websites to see when they started losing conversions and changing their bounce rate. So increasing bounce rate, which is how many people leave your site immediately. That's called a bounce. Mm-hmm. So if you're having everyone leaving immediately, that's obviously really bad. So you want to decrease that rate. And Google found that for every second that your site takes longer to load, every just 1 second, you lose 12% of your conversions. 12% conversions per second. So that's like crazy that in 4 seconds, that's about almost 50% of your conversions. So in 4 seconds, you can literally lose half your conversions.
Oh my God, that is insane. No.
Yeah.
And when you said that you were looking in medical based on your research, is that right? That's what I heard you saying?
Yep.
Is that all medical, or were you focused in the medical aesthetics space specifically?
That was for all medical, but we did actually run the same test for the aesthetic space, and the number was the same. It's something that we aim to improve across the board. We found that increasing the speed alone, like that's really the first thing we do when we take on a website, is just such a massive impact. And then once we bring on the SEO, which we'll discuss, then it's even, a multiplied impact.
So not to kind of get off topic, but since we're talking about site speed, and I have been around this industry for 15 plus years. So you guys all know that everybody I bring on this podcast are, Jake just isn't a friend. I mean, they're vetted experts in something that I believe in, that I think is valuable to you and how it's going to help you. And so that being said, though, I also, work with very specific companies, right, in the aesthetic space that are whether, digital marketing companies, build websites. And so it sounds like you developed this proprietary software to test speed based on a need or a deficiency then in the market. Yes?
Yeah. And not just test speed. The software actually increases the speed. That's
the solution. Your software helps to increase the speed.
Yeah, increase the speed. Yeah, significantly.
That's a moneymaker right there.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, fascinating. And I don't know how much you want to elaborate on that software. And guys, for those of you that are in the Apex platform, right? You can also, that is an option for you guys to test your site speed as well. So I encourage you to do that. Yep. So Jake, let's just dive in then. What is SEO?
So SEO, it's really interesting because you see all across the board people who claim they know all about it and know very little, people who don't know anything, people who actually know a lot, which is, more rare because I feel like a lot of people try to black box this and keep it a secret, a lot of agencies. Yeah. And there's a reason for that. Well, that I'll get into. SEO, search engine optimization. It's basically how well you can get ranked on the top of Google. So why do you want to get on the top of Google? 92% of all traffic goes just to the first page. And 75% of all traffic is only on the top 3 results. So 75% of all traffic, there's 3.5 billion searches a day on Google, and 75% of it is all in the top 3 searches. So it's absolutely crucial. 90% of people don't go to page 2. We have a funny saying that the best place to hide a dead body is on page 2 of Google search results because no one's going to find it. To break it down in a super simple, fundamental way, SEO is how many links, backlinks, and other sites are pointing to your website on the web. And then it gets into how much authority those websites have. So if those are trusted sites, then your site actually looks more trusted. Google basically just wants to know who's a trustworthy source of information on the web. And to do that, they use other sites pointing to your site to verify you. So what we do is we try to get high quality sites to point to your website, and that increases your SEO.
That is a mouthful. Okay, I'd like to give an example, or let's talk through an example. Okay. So look, we're in Los Angeles, right? We know Beverly Hills is the Mecca. So whether you're in New York, Dallas, Chicago, Miami, any hot city, and you want to, again, people want to have the 90210 zip code. Well, for those of you that know, right, in a 3-mile radius, there's hundreds, 300 plus. It's highly competitive. So based on that example, that definition you gave, if somebody is building or, wants to start a practice in Beverly Hills and they're a plastic surgeon, and they want to rank for breast dogs, or they want to rank for something non-surgical that many people do.
Yes.
Walk us through what sort of a company like yours would have to do to get that new place ranking, if you will, if they're a new practice.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to break it down into 2 fundamentals of SEO. There's the on-site SEO, and then there's the off-site SEO. Now, on-site SEO is something that most people know about. When someone says, hey, I want my website to be SEO optimized, they're talking about on-site SEO. So that is things like the keywords that are on your site. So let's say if they want breast augmentation, they would have a page dedicated to breast augmentation. They would have that keyword listed many times throughout the site. And that way Google is indexing it and Google saying, hey, this is something on their site. So now Google is going to list you on Google. So that is how you first of all get on Google, is on site. But now how do you get moved up in the ranks? That comes down to off-site SEO. And that's actually the most crucial part of SEO. And that's where really the investment comes in. So off-site SEO is basically just content. It's high quality and a high quantity of content. So if we wanted to rank someone in Beverly Hills for breast augmentation, what we would do is we want to create some very high quality content that people want to read, that people want to share. So that way they will be sharing your link to that content. So what we would do is we would create a very high quality article, put it on your site, and then we promote that article by posting it on other websites. So this is kind of the black box that no agency will tell you about. And this is basically how it's done, is that we have partnerships with other websites where we will write an article on their website talking as if it's from them. And they'll, on their site, it's as if the author is saying, these are the best surgeries for 2021, breast augmentation. And in that, it'll have a link to your practice in Beverly Hills. Since lots of people are searching that traffic flows naturally from that link to yours, and that increases your SEO. That's why, you see a range of SEO agencies charging from all kinds of prices. But I think for at least for our clients, we like to explain this process so you really know what you're getting, because, we've seen a lot of clients saying, hey, I saw someone who can do SEO for me for $100 a month or $500 a month. And then we explain how it actually works. And I say, so knowing that, do you think that for that price, you can hire someone who has a medical background, who's going to write relevant, creative, and engaging content for you all month for that little money? Do you really think that? And then they say, oh, actually, no, you're right, that something has to be wrong. Well, yes, something is wrong. Because if they're not doing those things, Google can actually ding you. So a lot of agencies will use what's called black hat practices where, there are ways to kind of try and trick the algorithm, but Google ends up always being smarter than the tricks. And in the end, it always hurts your SEO than helps.
Interesting. So those partnerships that you mentioned, are those relationships that as a company, we'll just use you, that you go off and build, knowing that is a KPI that, if you will, that practices need to be doing and using, that's something that you proactively go establish these relationships so you have these partnerships?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there are a couple different forms of the partnership. One, a lot of these sites, they want good content. So if you're writing the content for them, it's a win-win. You get to put your link up on their site for your client, and they get a free, engaging article that is put up for them.
And how often is that content need to be, obviously you said relevant, engaging. How often does that have to be updated?
It's really up to you, and it's up to your local competition as well. The only way that you drop in SEO is if somebody knocks you down. So if you're ranked number 6, the only way you go down to rank number 7 is if someone else beats you. It's a very much a pay for what you get structure. We always recommend doing an article a week because we think that is just maintaining relevancy. Google really appreciates relevancy. They always want to be displaying the newest art, the newest content. They're a tech company. They love everything new. So they really focus on what's new. They also focus on the people who are keeping up with their standards. They actually change their standards once or twice a year for SEO. So if you're not maintaining that and you're doing the old practices, you're not going to be winning. So that's why you always have to be on it. It's a constant update system. However, it's an investment. So we always explain it's an investment, because you do maintain those positions.
And I love what you just said. And I'm going to really just kind of piggyback you guys from my perspective to what Jake said, because it really isn't one without the other. I hear so often, and I went live on Instagram about a week ago talking about sort of when we do discovery calls, there's 3 things clients want. Number 1 is they want to increase revenue. Yeah. Number 2 is they want to optimize and, have better efficiencies. And 3 is always the marketing thing, and whatever the capacity that is. And I find so often, look, people shy away from hard work. They don't want to spend the time, the money. They're not sure about the investment. Even if you can show them you can scale $1 million, they're like, oh God, right. Yeah. I hired this company down the street. They're amazing at design. I'm like, okay, well, what about the performance of the site? How do you think COVID has changed SEO and the need for it, if anything?
Oh, COVID has significantly changed SEO. In my opinion, I think that it just accelerated a trend that was already about. It was very slowly, but very surely moving from hard marketing, such as flyers, mailers, signs, billboards, your storefront, to digital marketing. And kind of, everyone's talking about this, everyone knows this, but in the medical space, it's very much word of mouth, people just kind of happening across your practice. If they're in the local area, they'll find you in Yellow Pages, things like that. So we saw actually quite a significant shift in COVID in the medical space alone. I have some stats which are pretty crazy, that in just 1 year, since the end of 2019 to now, searches for Botox, for instance, have grown by 40%.
Oh my God.
40% 1 year.
Well, no. Okay, so listen, as a woman here, of course they did, because we had to wear those shitty masks. All you can see is your eyes, right? Because you can, right? And then we're staring at Zooms for the past year.
Yeah, exactly.
But those are astounding numbers. And I know you can appreciate this when I share this, since you've worked on, the Apex platform, that when you look inside of Gauge, right? And Gauge, you guys, is the competitive benchmarking data I have from Ronan Solutions, which is part of ASAP's. So it literally will concur with the numbers that Jake just said. 40% search increase is a ton. And then we look at the competitive benchmarking data and we're like, wait a minute. Injectables it went down, but not that much.
Right.
Despite us still sitting at home. So amazing. Anything else that you checked out?
Yeah. And even though it went down in COVID, it's back up higher than ever. All the medical keywords are actually higher than they've ever been right now. Additionally, there's now more people just interested in holistic medicine. I'm sure a lot of your clients are now trying to get into things like PRP, platelet-rich plasma treatments, and stem cell and just holistic treatments because people really care about their health and wellness now. And so we saw a huge shift from COVID because of that.
Well, I think to tack onto that, in addition, yes, I concur 100%, but the practices that had IV vitamin therapy, which that is not a huge moneymaker, in my opinion, right? If I'm so focused on rev per hour, but the people that did offer that functional medicine component got to stay open.
Right.
They weren't shut down. So I do think you're right. People are now trying to figure out, if I have a plastic surgery, a medical spa, if I have both, what services can I add on to provide value? But interesting stats on that.
And SEO in general, overall, was seen as now something that we were doing this before COVID for a long time. And we personally have seen the difference, because before it was something that was on the back burner. It was like, oh yeah, I'll get to it when I get to it. Yeah, my website, I know it's 10 years old, but whatever. We have our walk-ins and things like that. After COVID, that was all gone. That was all changed. Now your digital website is your only storefront. Like, that is the only way that people know you. So if people don't know you from your digital storefront, they don't know you at all.
I love it. You're speaking. It's almost like you took my presentation that you've never seen, by the way, and you're talking my language, because I teach two things. And I love the number 7, and I teach like the 7 steps to the patient experience and the 7 components to a multi-7 or 8-figure practice. And it's interesting when we look at benchmarks, because an average medical spa only generates about 1.5 million. That is not a lot of money. Okay. Net profit should be 20%, and it's not. But what you just said is really astounding, because people don't want to invest. And so I have them in like these 7 circles. Right. And the top circle, it's your website, because I'm like, look, it's your brand equity. It is the one thing that if I'm at home still in COVID and I'm searching my condition or my problem, that is your brand. It's the one thing that I need. So if it doesn't look appealing, if it's not professional, if it's not aesthetically done, if it's not working, and if it doesn't have good content that I want to stay, videos, all the things, and you and I could have a whole, series of podcasts or webinars to really talk about all the functions that it has to have. But you hit the nail on the head. It is really the only thing that you have. So you guys take a note. If you're spending money in all those other areas, please stop it. Please stop it and put it in one place, which is what we're talking about today. Again, your website, speed, all the things that are really, really, really vital, that are going to actually move the needle for you.
Right. Exactly. I mean, we've talked to, clients where they're like spending a ton of money on the exterior of the practice, but no money on the website. And I was like, I'm not sure on this exact number, but I would say at least 10,000 to 100,000 more people will see your website than ever see your front of your practice. So, I mean, in my opinion, the single most crucial element of a business.
So I'm asking this for self-serving reasons, because I know what I know what I've used. I know what I've paid. I know what clients pay. There's such a disparity, like you said, of companies and their fees. And so why do some people swear by SEO and then other people are like, this is bullshit. It is a waste of my money?
No, I'm actually, one of our top ways of getting clients is that they come to us after having been with some other firm that try to charge them $500 for their website, their SEO, this, that, and the other. And they say, wow, I wasted a ton of money and a ton of time, and I actually lost SEO. And it's, as I was explaining before, that it's really about high quality content. You just have to, when you understand that, then the cost makes sense, because you're thinking you need to invest in someone to create great content for you and how to promote it in a good way, in a way that's effective and can drive traffic to your website. One of the biggest methods that we differentiate ourselves is our keyword targeting. So keyword is basically what people are searching. So there's a difference between if someone searches Botox or Botox near me. Those are 2 different distinct keywords. So we look at the website, we look at your whole landscape. We look at your competition, your area, the local searches, the number of searches, and your products. And then we will actually formulate the best keywords to drive the most traffic to your website. So we've seen that these companies that charge, a couple $100, they're always making wild promises. And yeah, we always say, just don't trust anyone that it seems too good to be true.
Do you mean a couple hundred or a couple thousand?
I mean, they're charging a couple hundred and they're claiming that they're going to get to number one in Google. I've actually seen ads. It's pretty funny. I've seen ads that literally claim you're going to be number one in Google for $25 a month. And I just laugh because I'm like,
like these, the companies that are charging this minimal, like this.
Yeah.
Cause I was like, okay, wait, I know people that are paying $4,000 or $5,000 a month, right? If not more, right?
If not more. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
got it.
Companies are paying, even tens of thousands for this because like I said, about a third of all website traffic is to the number one position.
Yeah.
So you can be the number one position. You will never have a problem again.
Okay. So I'm going to clarify what Jake said. Meaning if a company, you guys, is trying to tell you that they're only going to charge you 500 or 100 or some, small number, you're not going anywhere. Right. You're not moving the needle. You're not going to get on page one.
No.
That's not going to happen. And we're finding out all these other things that I just don't think most people know. And I think that the purpose of why I wanted to have Jake on this segment today was, one, not just because of what I've learned in my involvement with him in Web Upgrade from an apex, from a technology, from an engineering and a development side, is that, I mean, we have sat down and kicked it. And I think that I appreciate being educated. I've been around this industry for 15 years and I think I know a lot of stuff. And there's a lot I don't know. And I want to make sure that when I'm working with my clients and again, who I partner with, I really am bringing you experts so that you get the best. You're getting what you pay for, that you understand, because I'm always about the why. Why do we do anything? And what is it going to do for you? So are there any other trends that you see moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of trends in SEO that, are getting more into the weeds, like 10 to 20% of search is now done through voice. So something like that is like something you just always have to be on the forefront of these things to make sure you're always meeting those, because when you're searching with voice, you're going to be searching something differently than how you search online. If you're searching with voice, you're not just going to say the word Botox. You're going to say, find me Botox near me. So we need to keep track of that. And we need to know that those are the trends. And now these near me, because people are actually, another trend is that people are getting a lot more quick with this. So they're like, Botox near me, open now. They want it right this minute, like that's it. So those are some trends that are coming up.
Wait, and do you mean like on my phone? Like I'm going to take my phone and ask Siri?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I had no idea. No, that makes complete logical sense when you just say it like that, but I wouldn't have even thought about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what we're constantly thinking about, staying ahead of those trends and that keyword matching. It's about matching the search intent. So when they have search intent, we want to match that intent with our content. So if the content matches the intent, that's when you have a very, very good lead.
So Jake, is there ever a time that perhaps you might, I don't know, maybe turn a client away because the market's too competitive or they're not really willing to spend the money to achieve or to be able to get there in the rankings that they're looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. There are definitely times where we have to turn clients away. And that's for two reasons. One, they have this expectation that they're going to be rank one for a small amount of money. They've been hearing from other ads or whatever that people can do SEO. They kind of black box all of SEO into one service. And they say, oh, well, this guy charges $100. Why are you charging X amount? And I explain it to them. And if they don't fully understand it and they're not willing to invest the money to get there, it's actually not worth our time, because if you don't invest the proper money, it's not going to work. And then we're going to end up with an unhappy client. And so we literally just didn't have the investment to work with. And two, they don't understand the time investment of this too. So like I said earlier, that if you're on page 2, you see very, very few visitors. If you're on page 40, you see almost no visitors. And if we were to work super hard and we get you from page 40 where you start to page, 4 or page 3, you would see very little increase in your traffic because you're still on that lower scale. But then if we get you from page 3 to page 1, your traffic would massively, massively skyrocket. So we always do our best to explain that, but a lot of people just don't have that time investment available and they want results immediately. So those are the 2 times that we would turn down a client, but we always do try to explain those, but well before we even start. And I think people are really starting to get it now.
Companies that are not in the aesthetic space, my personal belief is that, especially since we're talking about such a niche market, and like you said, this linking and writing authentic, engaging content, that takes a good writer, right? A ghost writer, somebody who knows how to write from that SEO perspective, not Susie Q, practice manager. I mean, God love you, right? That I get it, right? You've said it a million times and I say it. I never say it costs this. It is an investment. Yeah. But it is an investment in yourself, in your practice. I know you guys did not go to medical school to be average. There's no room for mediocrity anymore. And there's no room to not have growth when you have overhead and cost of goods and team and people, and you want to provide great results. But then this other stuff, right, that you need, the infrastructure and the systems are substandard. So I believe, and where I work and send my clients is to people that I feel are the experts. And that's not to say that there aren't some other really great companies. I'm sure there's a lot of them. But if they work in like law or, some other vertical, do you think that they can do right by an aesthetic practice based on this conversation, not really knowing this vertical if they're focused in another area?
It's definitely possible. When we started, we were all over the place. We did even law firms. We did, just all kinds of random businesses. It's really about finding people to partner with who are going to help you. You want to just find the best writers who are going to write that. It definitely is a benefit to staying in your same vertical simply because they are experienced in those keywords. They know how to rank those keywords. So we've been in the medical space for a long time. We know the medical keywords. There's actually a lot I can go into on that about medical SEO because it's actually different than all other kinds of SEO because Google wants to protect its users from false medical information. So that's actually a very specific type of SEO. It's a lot harder to do, but if you do it right, you can beat everyone quicker and easier because you know how to do it. So that I would say in certain niches, it is important to stay in your category, such as medical.
Okay, we're going to go do a webinar on that because I think it's an amazing topic. We could talk for hours and days. Last question, and then we're going to wrap it up. How does your website relate to your SEO?
So your website, this goes back to the breakdown between on-site and off-site SEO. So on-site SEO is basically all the data on your site and all the content on your site. And then underneath the website, there's something called metadata. Metadata is what's underneath the website. It's the instructions for the browser, basically telling it what is on your site. So you actually can tell it, I'm listing this type of content. These are the keywords that I want to index for. So Google will actually rank those and they'll see, okay, they're saying that they want to be ranked for these keywords. We're going to put them in this category. So Google has its own indexes where it actually will go through the actual content, but we find the metadata very important as well as many other on-site effects. And then the website speed. The website speed is absolutely crucial. For every 2 seconds, every 2 seconds that it takes longer to load, 50% of people will leave your site for every 2 seconds. So they call it the bounce rate, 50% more for every 2 seconds. So we're like, that's just an obvious increase. And then again, it's like if you're number one and your site takes 5 seconds, 50% of those people are going to leave your site and go to number two. That's just, it's just simple user preference. People don't spend very long anymore on anything. The attention span is very, very short. So Google says anything after 3 second load, you're starting to lose significant leads.
Oh my God, I love this. I would really love to have you even write something and put it out to my database. I mean, this podcast was so great. I hope you guys found this super helpful, very educational, something you're going to go take away. And I think, Jake, is there any call to action? I think two things from my perspective. One, if you're in my tribe, if you're part of our Apex community, which is an exclusive community, and you are using our business intelligence platform, certainly anybody listening to this podcast will have access to Web Upgrade inside the platform. Where you can type in your URL, test your site speed, and then certainly have access to Jake and his team as well. And anybody listening, again, will receive a 10% special offer on Apex. And then, Jake, anything that you want to offer in last words for the tribe?
Yeah, definitely. We have all of our account managers ready to do reports for websites. So we can check your speed, we can check your local SEO rankings. We want to go ahead and do all that for you for free. And again, if you're part of the Apex platform, we do have a partner tab on there. I believe it's under River SEO, since that is our productized SEO. We built that into its own kind of wing, since we were doing quite well in the SEO department. So we wanted to make that its own whole environment.
Thank you guys so much. And thank you again, Jake, for your time today. Thanks for, again, all your hard work and everything that you've been to me as a friend, and then for the work in Apex.
Of course.
Wouldn't be here without you guys. So I hope everyone, again, found this super valuable. Please don't hesitate to visit webupgrade.com and or apexplatform.com. Check it out. We want you guys to be super successful this year. So this was episode 31. I can't believe it. I think we're going into season, what, Tim? 3, 4?
We're about ready to wrap 3 and head into 4 really soon.
Oh my God. So you guys, I'm so excited. Thank you for always tuning in, for listening, for being part of my tribe, for commenting. If you found any of this valuable, I would ask you to please share, please post, please write a comment. Until then, I'll see you next time. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to In Touch with Terri. For more information regarding Apex, the aesthetic game changer, visit apexplatform.com. That's apexplatform.com. We'll include links to everything in the episode notes, including links to all of the ways that you can follow Terri Ross Consulting on all social media platforms. Please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast from whichever platform you might be listening from. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to you joining us on the next episode of In Touch with Terri.